Hey people, Dad here, still going through my emo phase,
Until my voice fixes itself. What a fucking turn off. Anyways, Ender Lilies. Beautiful game. Let's get into it. I had a whole essay written for this game, but this video is already too long. Number 9. Blighted Lord. This boss is boring, obnoxious, and also the final boss of the game. The combination obviously doesn't go well together. Almost everything that touches you in the abyss takes half your fucking health out, and she decides to spawn enemies, and not like once or twice throughout the fight, no, all the fucking time. And because these guys can two-shot you if you get caught in both the bosses and the enemy's attack at the same time, you die instantaneously. It wouldn't be that bad, except she takes a ginormous beating to finally go down. Anyways, except that she has like 3 moves. One where she slams all her hands down, second one when she slams one hand down, creating this shockwave, and the third one is this Yamete Kurasai orb attack, and that's it. The best tip I can give you for this fight is that use your spirit attack while she spawns the enemies and kill the spawn as quickly as possible. Man, what a shit boss with an awesome design, atmosphere, and build up. What a fuck up of a final boss. Hoenir, the unqualified keeper of the abyss. The one thing I'll always remember about this fight is its vibe. The music in this fight is so intense, I love it. Yet another boss with respawning enemies, but at the very least he isn't the final boss and is much more active, and the enemies can be ignored completely. What you wanna do in this fight is always keep at him. He has a tendency to jump around and sometimes lands in the same area as an enemy, so you can go psycho on both of them, simultaneously staggering both of them until he jumps away again. I feel like mostly the enemies were behind him, and if there was one in front, he was just too slow to really do anything. As I dodged, he attacked, and after that, it took way too long for him to initiate another attack, so by that point, Hoenir already had jumped again. You will have to fight Hoenir perfectly and try to finish the fight as soon as possible, while always being mindful of the enemies around you. As the fight goes on, he starts adding new attacks. At first, he does one single projectile and then jumps away like a bitch. The second phase, he starts shooting projectiles while jumping in the air like a fucking Sonic boss, and also does this spinning attack throwing you away, which is quite annoying, like let me hit you, man. In his third phase, he starts spamming this spinneroo attack, but at the same time you can actually hit him when he's on the ground, that is if he does not jump away from you again, making this phase kind of really annoying, and also you really want to end this phase as quickly as possible. The music in the third phase also starts getting intense. How exciting! The major problem with this guy is that he always keeps on jumping the fuck away. Like seriously, he just makes you guess that when's my fucking time to hit you. And also has respawning enemies because he's all cock, no balls. But in the end, it was still quite fun fighting him when I figured out how to beat him in the most efficient way possible. And that soundtrack slaps harder than Will Smith. Now the lore for all the bosses have 2 things in common, that they are depressing as fuck, and almost all of them are related to the White Priestess. Hoenir was tasked by her to not let anybody violate the execution grounds, and they are now named execution grounds, so I believe they are violated. So Hoenir is really not very qualified in anything at all. Number 7. Dark Witch Elaine. When I was fighting her for the first time, I hated her for the most part. But after 8 tries, I don't anymore. Conversely speaking, I quite enjoy this boss now. This is the case with probably every single boss from now on, because after you have a somewhat mastery over these bosses, which you will have to, as you ain't beating them without it, and that really lets you appreciate these bosses in the long run. And it's the same case with Elaine. At first I was quite pissed at this fireball attack, but now I can dodge it in my sleep. That's how many times I got hit by that. Another example is in the second phase when she follows up all of her attacks with this melee attack, but after dying to it 2 to 3 times, cause everything two-shots you even in the third fight of the fucking game, I didn't get hit by it like 95% of the time, thus having mastery of it and dodging both her attacks and then beating her in that opening consistently until I beat her gave me such a euphoric feeling. This game's bosses may appear very tough, but they are very masterable. The main reason why she is down here is because you can move mid-air in this game, and that causes problems when the boss is constantly in the air. Fight her. You know what I'm talking about. Especially this fucking tornado attack. But it is a fun fight and very satisfying when you figure her out and dodge all of her moves. Number 6. Guardian Sigrid. These next 3 fights are very close to each other in my opinion, but Sigrid already has a superior version in silver, so I decided to put her here. Sigrid is a good boss and an amazing first boss. Like, how many first bosses have 2 distinct phases? Not a lot, let me tell you. I know her first phase moveset all too well because I used the spirit the entire game. I don't know, I just liked it. She has a ground spinner attack and she has a air spinner attack. In her second phase she has a stomp attack, a rush attack and a slash. A very balanced and easy to dodge moveset. But that's what I like about her. She doesn't have a crazy moveset, but she doesn't need one, because she is the first boss and she has enough variation in this moveset to keep the player engaged. She doesn't need to do anything outlandish, but she also does what she does very good, and that is something I can't say for the 2 upcoming bosses. From her lower cutscene we can ascertain that she was quite disappointed in herself for being unable to protect the priestess's well-being. Even though it's not her fault, she chose to purify others and take their pain, just like Lily. Also, have you noticed that Lily's hair gets darker the more bosses you purify? So yeah, that's a really cool detail. Number 5. Ulf the Mad Knight. Both the knights, in my opinion, are very close to each other in terms of quality, but Ulf is a bit lower than Julius because of the bullshit I had to go through in his fight. First of all, the claw slash attack doesn't make sense. I think I died 20 times just because of this. By this point, I just dodged through with muscle memory. My tip is to dodge at the very last possible moment. I mean, it's really tough reading the tell, but you just have to die enough times to get a hang of it and then have some sort of mastery over it. And don't even think about trying to outrun it. You just can't. And if you get too close to it, you will still get hit by the claw slash. So yeah, bullshit, I know. Another bullshit move that killed me more times than I'd like to admit is the third phase transition move. Pro tip, stay the fuck away from these bosses when they change phases, cause you might just get one shot. But that's not all. For Ulf's phase transition, this pillar move follows you throughout the arena, and the only real way to dodge is by dodging through the pillar right in front of you. Also, don't get too greedy when finishing him off, because I literally died 3 times to him when he had like a beast dick amount of health left, because he always does the fucking pillar attack when he recovers from his stagger. I learned from my mistakes and just fucking dipped it after that, like you can see over here, and you should too. Now, I have been negative for the most part for this fight, but now I'll talk about the reason why this boss is so high up on the list, and that is because of everything else is done to perfection. All of his other moves are balanced and fun to dodge. I enjoyed his theme. The arena you fight him in is gorgeous and also look like an hero's grave, which he was, as suggested by his lore. His lore is that he's a fucking simp. She would laugh as I struggled to speak. Like, shut the fuck up, man. Number 4, Julius Reinhold. Do you know him? Anyways, now Julius has a massive health bar, like dummy thick, and also has a one-shot attack in his third phase which fucks you over if you were on the other side of the room. And as you can guess, they don't go very well together. The music in this fight is fucking beautiful. Easily my favorite track of the game. But yeah, for me, this fight is always going to be a race to the third phase, where he kills me with moves I have never seen before. But I got good. His first phase is quite boring. He does like one attack, but if you're good enough, you can dodge behind him, get one hit, dodge behind him, get one hit, and repeat. But it is easier said than done because you can mess up the rhythm and get hit, and let me tell you, you should not be getting hit up until phase 3. The only other complaint I have is this move. He just throws you far enough to make it annoying. Man, I can't afford not to get aggressive. Fucking annoying ass move. Except that his superseding area gives these defeated vibes, like everything is dead and unpurified. The entire castle is pretty much deteriorating, which can also be seen in his arena. His lore is so fucking cool. Like, this dude killed the king and then he sat on his throne like a boss, which he is. I don't know the whole lore of the king and everything, but I know he was greedy as fuck and the knight worked under him cause he wanted validation. If his health was nerfed and they divided his moves into different phases properly, he could have been higher, even numero uno, but alas. Also, get rid of the fucking laser attack. Number 3, Miriel, top 10 waifu material. Forbidden Domain is my favorite locale of the game. Its music, enemies, vibe, lore, just about everything in this place enthralls me. It's just that everything two-shots you. Almost everything can be transferred to Miriel. I believe Miriel to be pretty much the perfect boss to cap off Forbidden Domain. Just look at her. A fucking failed experiment. Her lore is made up of love, lies, deceit, sacrifice, and calm. Now, like I said before, almost everything Miriel throws at you can two-shot you. So if you are getting one-shotted by everything instead of two-shotted, you should probably go explore the entire game for gems and upgrades for your spirit, because it's only gonna get harder from here on out. Now, the hardest part about Miriel as a boss fight, because as a character something is getting hard down here, if you catch my drift, is a 1-2 combo attack, in which if you get hit by the first hit, you'll most likely get hit by the second one and perish. So either you learn how to dodge this attack or just keep off of her, which she encourages. She also has this shit puke attack, which stops based on your position, incentivizing that you should stay away from Miriel, dodge her attacks, get close, then punish, and then dip it. Her second phase adds on this attack, where she buries her hand in the ground, needing claws to come out, which gets upgraded in the third phase, which managed to kill me like 5 times, which forces you to use your double jump and your dash, and if you position yourself well enough, punish her in the air. So it is a very good attack, testing your use of abilities and positioning. Her theme is like Forbidden Domains, which is amazing. Like, all around, this was a surprisingly mechanically deep boss, so yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and it deserves numero 3 on the list. Number 2, Guardian Silva. She is not a reskin of Sigrid. By that, I mean look out for that quadrulo projectile attack. The amount of times I got one-shotted while at almost full health. She is very easily the toughest boss of the game, and the difficulty spike was surprisingly quite brutal, and you need the air dash, meaning you can't do her later. Basically, everything can two-shot you, so mastery of her attacks is a given. And don't expect any of her moves to be similar to Sigrid, cause they aren't, except maybe for this axe move, but every boss has that attack to keep you off of them, as you may have noticed. Now, if they added a few more moves, I would have been happy with just the first phase, but Just like her weaker counterpart, she has a second phase which thankfully doesn't have that much HP, but don't let that fool you. She really makes up for it in damage. Like, I died a lot just trying to rush through a second phase, but it was only in my last attempt that I got it. You should treat her second respect with respect. Learn her moves and search for openings. I somehow managed to clutch the fight after making this realization, meaning it's not that tough. Plus, her second phase adds a lot more cool moves, making her attack pool the most varied maybe in the entire game. Her major flaw is her damage output in her first phase. Like, moves that come out so quickly shouldn't be able to almost one-shot you. Also, AI while doing this attack is kind of clunky, so yeah, and the design for both her phases is the same to the likes of Secret. Her post-fight lore tells us that when she got infected by the blight, she wanted to protect her sister, and how she hated turning into a monster, questioning herself if she was always like this from the inside. It made me feel desolate, and this is some depressing shit. Let's move on. Numero uno, Gerard True Chad. Gerard, in my opinion, does what he does to perfection. The balance is perfect, not a more billion moves, but enough to keep the fight dynamic. They're all fun to dodge and learn, especially this overhead hammer swing which hits you if you're behind him as well as in front, and you can use this knowledge in your journey ahead using Gerard as a spirit, as this move carries on when you use him, and he, in my opinion, is the best spirit. The battle takes place on a bridge, and considering Gerard's lore fits perfectly as he's trying to protect the people living in the village, which can be found further to the right. And talking about his lore, what a fucking Chad. Even while being infected and slowly losing his true self, he decided to protect his village, still doing so even after being blighted. The music in this game always becomes amazing when entering the third phase of these bosses, so it's epic as fuck. And what else could you need? It's not like he's a Nightmare King Grim or a Cuphead boss, but he doesn't need to be. He is the best Ender Lilies boss, and he deserves more in general, just like this game. Like, how underrated is this game? Most of all, the bosses were good to great to even amazing, and there were no duds except the last one, which wasn't really that bad. If you have for some reason still not decided to play this beautiful game, do so. You will not regret it. As for me, I'll see you guys in the next video. Like and sub.